Hello everyone and welcome to Road to Keystone Master for Season 2 of World of Warcraft Dragonflight. If you haven't watched my Season 1 video series, be sure to check it out so I can get more videos and YouTube shows me some love. Also, I'd really appreciate it because I really enjoyed playing during Season 1 and I had fun making the videos for you guys. So much so that I decided to repeat the same process for Season 2. So be sure to subscribe and do all the YouTube things, I'll really appreciate it. Let's quickly get the rules out of the way so I can actually start playing. First, I'm gonna diversify from what I did in Season 1. I tried climbing by just using my key, but spoilers, I had to find some groups to be able to finish my challenge. So this time, I'll do whatever's necessary to get the KSM achievement. I'll use my key, some random hunter who's trying to put a group together just before Tuesday's reset. In short, I'll try to get into as many groups as possible. Why? Because I'm putting myself out there to be accepted into groups, to be rejected, kicked, re-invited, whatever. I'm not gonna be in control of who joins my keys, and I'll be at the mercy of the pug world. Number 2, I'll do everything on whatever character I end up picking, so I'm not gonna transfer gold, bags, gear, mats, or anything from another character in my account. Number 3, and most importantly, I'll show you guys that you can, as a casual player with little knowledge of the game, make your groups, join groups, meet people both good and bad, and you can enjoy the game at your leisure without being a meta slave. That last rule might be a bit weird because of the class I picked, but I haven't done any research and I have no idea where they're ranking in Warcraft logs or in public perception. I was just interested in trying out this class that I had never played before, just like in Season 1. Going back to Season 1, I picked a Guardian Druid for the challenge. Druid was a class that I had quite literally never played before. It was never my thing and I never thought it clicked for me. Dino Bear showed me otherwise. I went into Season 1 with a dream that I achieved with the least desired tank for Mythic Plus and managed to get KSM. So you can do it too. So you might be thinking that if I tanked the previous season, the only natural progression is obviously playing a healer like almost every other content creator doing this challenge right now. You will be correct, because I chose to play a Holy Priest to try out Keystone Master for Season 2. Now, I don't want to play a complicated healer like Discipline for example, because it's not a spec I've ever felt comfortable playing because of the whole DPS to heal and keeping uptime on atonement so you can focus on putting barriers up for your team and DPSing the mobs and then healing and then having a DPS rotation and a healing rotation and a mace rotation and whew, yeah, none of that. I wanted to keep it simple and Holy Priest is, at the most basic, just healing. Like, your party takes damage, you press a button, you cast a spell, and their health goes whoop back to full. Yeah, never mind that. I've gotten a call from my patron that I'm actually playing Shadow for Season 2. I mean, how can you not? You peer into the void to gain its powers, you put damage over time on the ads, you can spread damage among them through Psychic Link, shadowy apparitions emanate from the darkness within you, Void Lasher tentacles come from the other side to spread pain and insanity to your enemies, and you get to summon a thing from beyond to wave its tentacly arms around. Oh, also, you have the biggest power play ever. You have Power Infusion, making everyone in your random groups kneel before you so you can bestow this blessing upon them. I mean, what's a better way to play than being in control of both the enemies and the people on your side? Well, let's find out in our first ever Season 2 dungeon, a +2 Underrot. Oh, quick interjection here. I forgot to record it, but I had already done the weekly quest for some extra gear and you should absolutely get on that as soon as the reset rolls over. These quests are Aiding the Accord, A Worthy Ally, Lone Niffin, Fighting is its own reward, and the weekly quest that require you to complete a few mythic dungeons that rolls over every few weeks. By completing those, you have even more chance to get loot per week. Okay, back to the video. We're back on BFA territory for my first ever dungeon in Season 2. I haven't been to Underrot in a very long time and the highest I've played this dungeon was Heroic difficulty back when it was current content. I'll be approaching this the same as I did Season 1, and I'm just gonna learn as I go. Of course, I'm not gonna try to be a detriment to my group, so I will be doing some research on mechanics and such later on, but for now, on these low dungeons, I'll just try to get used to playing the spec. My main goal is to do as much AoE damage as possible. As a Shadow Priest, that is achieved through Psychic Link, which spreads your damage around among the enemies that are afflicted by your damage over time abilities. So the plan is this: dub the enemies up and start blasting. Mind blasting, that is. I'm not gonna get into the rotation and cooldown usage now because I'm learning the class, so if there's any Shadow Priest watching and is willing to give me some tips, you're more than welcome to type them in the comments below. The first boss goes off without a hitch, since it's easy at this level. You must avoid getting hit by Sanguine Feast, be on the lookout for Creeping Rot, which is the green poop puddle that runs along in a line in the arena, shouldn't be too hard to miss. As soon as the ad pops up, you focus it down and take it out as soon as you possibly can. Being a Shadow Priest, that means putting up your dots and blasting shadow magic at it, since you still damage the boss through Psychic Link. I don't know if I've ever said this during my Season 1 series, but I really enjoy classes that can do a lot of AoE. I just get a rush of serotonin whenever I see a bunch of numbers flashing around in a large group of enemies. It's like my own little fireworks show. Also, I have no idea if it's just Underrot or if I'm just an idiot, but playing a caster is definitely not that easy. If you've been watching the gameplay, you can see how many times I had to move mid-cast to reposition, and I had to run around to avoid getting hit by the fixating monsters just hanging around. Bleh. I really hate these giant back tick monsters. The group clears all the way down to the third boss, and, hand on my heart, I had no idea what to do in this fight. There were mushrooms popping up, balls of something floating around and doing damage, stacking damage over time effects on everyone. I honestly felt lost. So I just stood my ground and hit the boss harder and faster in hopes of killing it before it wiped us. The route to the last boss wasn't really eventful, so I'll just skip to the last fight of the dungeon, which, again, I had no idea about what I had to do. My mind reverted to Unga Bunga mode and I just DPS'd and hoped for the best. Luckily, some of the people in the dungeon were decently geared, so we managed to clear this place out. The Keystone gets a +3 upgrade, and I get my first key, a +2 freehold. Now trust me, I've loved to tell you that I put up the key, got a group together, ran the dungeon, and got fat loot and +3'd the key. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm instead gonna tell you what really happened. I spent about 40 minutes trying to put together a group for a simple +2 freehold. I got tired and I started looking for a group. Ironically, I found a group for a +2 freehold in the aptly named Group Finder, and I quickly got accepted. But when I got summoned, it was another Underrot run. Well, I spent a long time trying to find a group, so might as well just run with these guys while I'm here. But you've seen me run this place now not 5 minutes ago, so to recap, I got no upgrade, no loot drop, no nothing. Back to finding another group. The third dungeon I ran that day was a +6 Vortex Pinnacle. I was feeling fine with my gear, the group picked me up rather quickly after signing off for the run, and there were no other lower keys being posted, so I decided to try this one and well, here we go. If I told you guys I hadn't visited the Underrot in a long time, you can only imagine how long it has been since I've done a Vortex Pinnacle. Even less so with the added Mythic Plus mechanics. I do remember this place being rather simple, so I'll have to adjust accordingly. One of the most important details you must keep in mind when joining groups is to look at the composition of the party. In this case, I see that the healer is an evoker. They have a 25-yard range to their abilities, so if I want to stay alive, I have to stay closer to the group than I would have with another healer. I get confused when we get to the first boss because neither the tank nor the healer are there, and the boss was pulled by the druid Starfall. I see them back away, so I follow along because I thought they were gonna reset the boss or something. I honestly have no idea if you can do that in Mythic Plus, but I just die making my way to them and then they just charge into the boss. I get rest after the fight is over and join the group to delve deeper into the dungeon. This is when I make my second mistake. You see the Storm Dragon turns around to cast a perfectly fit cone attack between the pillars where the druid and I stand. Now look at what I do versus what the druid does. You saw that? The druid makes the obvious choice of hiding behind the pillar to LOS the attack, while I think I'm Usain Bolt and I try to sprint to the side of the boss like an idiot. Regardless, I get resurrected once again and we move on to the next boss. Now for this one, I have more of an idea of what I need to do. If you see the wind blowing in a direction, you put your back to it and get a haste buff. If you face the winds, you get a haste debuff. Simple. Wait, hold up, what is downburst? Okay, new mechanic, I think. You see this white circle? That is downburst. And if you played during Shadowlands, you might remember Artificer Cymox and waiting for his ring of light to get close to you, so you took the portals to evade the ring. Well, the tornadoes are the portals here. You get into one of them and it launches you up so you avoid the incoming ring. I did that, but I panic moved into the tornado way too early and got hit regardless, so I am silenced for a few seconds. I repositioned myself and I have no idea if I was tired, if I didn't have my glasses on or whatever, but I die again because I stepped into this AoE effect on the ground that's right over the stairs. You can clearly see the circles on the stairs and the game tells me I'm taking cold front damage, but my head doesn't register that information and what to do with it, so I die. Again. At this point, the group might have been more than annoyed with me, but we're halfway done, and I don't think anyone wanted to kick me and have to start the dungeon all over again. As a player, you take this opportunity to see what you did wrong and fix it for the next run. A lot of players do this to get better, so really consider downloading OBS or whatever recording software you choose and just record and go over your gameplay, see what you did wrong, and fix it. The route to the last boss was uneventful since we just blasted all the ad groups on our way there. For the last boss, I start by using power infusing on the balanced druid, we get bloodlust, and I pop my Troll's Berserking rational ability to really go off on the boss. Their healer dies mid-fight, but gets brought back to life by the druid and then the tank dies shortly after. Thankfully, the druid, the warlock, and myself are war turrets blasting down the boss, and we get the clear, getting the Keystone Challenger achievement, my rating up to 163, and some pocket change. At this point in the afternoon, I just need one more dungeon to complete the first two vault requirements, so I started looking for a while, getting denied by many groups, until I finally found a +7 Neltharus. Our team comp is looking great, and we head in for the last dungeon of the day. The tank thankfully pulls decently and groups the ads up so the DPS in the group can maximize their AoE, and looking at the DPS, I have no idea what bliss is feeding these warlocks, man. I didn't PI them, but the dude was just popping off like a maniac. Thanks to that massive DPS, the road to the first boss is paved with the bodies of Dawson the Jardin. At this level, this boss's mechanics are easily dealt with. You must pay attention to not stand in the way of the magma wave, move away from the grounding spears to break the chains, and just keep pummeling the boss until you beat him. After the first boss is done and dusted, the group follows up their usual route to Forge Master Gorek, the second boss in the instant. I have seen some guys for this place and a lot of people seem to skip this commander enemy, but our tank wants to do it, so it's our job to DPS it down. One of the things that I talked about in Season 1 was that some players just love to complain. See, you always have options in a group. You either do your job and pick up any slack from the group, or you turn into a rage machine and get either kicked or rage quit the group yourself. I bring this up now because I know there are people out there having these interactions, and somewhere, someone saw this commander getting pulled and threw a 5-minute hissy fit about wasting time and the tank not knowing the dungeon and yada yada yada, you know the story. I know, for sure, a lot of people watching this video will instantly remember that guy from that one dungeon run. Trust me, I went through it and the entire community can relate. So you know what? Don't be that guy. The tank pulled a random enemy that's not usually pulled, you DPS it down. The healer is not clearing debuffs on the party but your class can, clear them up. I, as a Shadow Priest, can help by casting Power Word Shield on the tank on every pull. I can easily weave it into my rotation, and if the healer is struggling, I can help heal. I can help clear debuffs and poisons. I can mass dispel the bad stuff that gets thrown around in dungeons. I can put feathers down to help the other players move out of stuff faster. So please, excuse my rant during this random pull, but watching the video for editing, the memories came back of people that would absolutely abandon a run because this thing wasn't done right. Learn what your class can do, learn how you can help the group, learn how to pick up the slack from other players, and instead of complaining about it all, do something to make the run easier for everybody. Forge Master Gorek. One of the many mechanics to watch out for is the Blazing Aegis. This targets people in the group and explodes in a cross, killing everyone in it. The evidence? This overlap that happened here. You see that the Warlock and I are positioned diagonally? This means that the crosses coming out from the explosion will travel towards us. So what are you supposed to do? In my case, I could have moved in any of 3 directions. Up, down, or right, because I see there's an overlap to the left. I thought I had made it out, but I miscalculated and ended up dying mid-fight. Aside from that, there's not much to look out for at this level, so let's move along to the next boss, Magma Tusk. Let me be frank, I have no idea what this boss does or how we're supposed to handle whatever it does. All I know is that if he charges at you, you move out of the way. You dodge the magma waves like you've been doing throughout this whole place and follow the #1 Warcraft commandment, do not stand in the fire. I guess this is what the community talks about with DPS having the least responsibility, but I am gonna research and I am gonna learn for future runs, don't worry about that. The last boss of the night is Warlord Sagra, and to be honest, this fight is kinda hectic for a caster. There's a constant rain of fire, huge AoE cones that you must step out of, pools of fire that summon raging embers that lock onto people and follow them to the end of the earth. In short, it's leg day. And in this channel, we do not skip leg day. The overall fight went great, and a few minutes later, the boss is down and we finally get a piece of loot. The Iron Touch Igniter, which is a massive upgrade to my current 382 offhand. Good, finally something we can actually use. With everything I needed to do already done, the vault is primed for Tuesday's reset with 2 options for me. I have no idea if I'll dip into LFR to try for tier pieces or do the weekly quest to fill up the other spots in my gear, but I'm gonna try to smoothen out my weekly gameplay so I can record this challenge, and since everyone's saying this raid is much easier, also try to get another character to get ahead of the curve by beating the raid on Heroic. I already picked the class I'll be using for that, so if it's something that interests you guys, I can try to get it done. For now, I'll be logging off by leaving a 404 item level Shadow Priest ready to go for next week. In fact, since you've been kind enough to watch this far into the video, I'll just show you what I got the next day at the vault. A 424 Stratosphere belt that doesn't give me the good stats, or a 415 neck piece that gives me a lot of my best stat. I end up picking the belt mainly because of the item level upgrade and because I can use the catalyst to change it to a different piece later on. At this point, I just grab the weekly quests and log off until I can go back and go over the entire routine again. If you enjoyed this episode and want to follow the series, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell, and while you wait for the next episode, consider giving the Season 1 Tank KSM a watch. It's a short series that you can put on a second monitor while you play the game, and it'll give you an idea of the way I play the game and how the season might play out. Now, I'm not gonna keep you here any longer. Get back into the game, get gearing, and most importantly, have fun. I'll see you on the next one.